The age of steam has finally gone. All that remains now is the memory, the metal carcasses, and a long wait for the breaker's torch. The steam engine is one of the most potent symbols of an era of both ruthless prosperity and bitter struggle, of a time when each machine had an individuality that a man could respect, come to terms with in a way that no longer exists. In 1923, Sir Nigel Gresley's new A3 class Pacific locomotive Flying Scotsman was a part of this tradition. 5 years later, on the 1st of May 1928, it pulled out of King's Cross Station on the first non-stop run from London to Edinburgh. In 1934, it was the first steam locomotive to reach 100 miles an hour. And by then, the name Flying Scotsman had acquired a special glamour it has never really lost. After 2 million miles of service, Flying Scotsman made its last run for British Railways in 1963. It was bought the same year by businessman Alan Pegler. He restored it to its former LNER glory and has run it ever since on steam excursions for railway clubs and societies.
My enthusiasm for railways doesn't...
Pegler's railway enthusiasm has become a way of life. His dream of repeating the non-stop run exactly 40 years later, on the 1st of May 1968, is now a reality. To do it has cost him both time and money.
I was lucky enough to have a family business to go into, or I thought I was lucky enough to at the time. And of course, having spent most of my younger life being prepared to run this business, which I did, eventually became chairman and managing director, the business befell the fate that befalls so many others and got taken over. But the only good thing about that was that it just so happened that the takeover occurred about a year after I'd bought the Flying Scotsman locomotive. So I had the decision to take whether to decide to go on working for somebody else or another company, or to opt out and do something entirely new. And I decided to opt out and do something entirely new, which meant that I'd got the time to devote to running all these curious activities which are terribly time-consuming. One could not possibly, I think, do the sort of things that I've been doing in the last year or two unless one was able to do that and nothing else.
Of course, when one buys a piece of machinery like the Flying Scotsman and intends running it, especially non-stop to Scotland, one has to have somewhere to keep and maintain it. At the time, one had to look around with an eye to the future, and one found that Doncaster was one of the few locomotive depots left that could cope with this kind of work. It was near the family business, and of course the Flying Scotsman itself was built here, so back here she came. One simply pays the rent and all the bills, and British Railways do the rest.